My name is Oscar DeArmas. I teach here at Coral Gables Senior High. I've been teaching for about a decade. I love my job. I'm very blessed. I teach some of the most brilliant kids in the city. They come from all walks of life. They're very humble. We're very lucky. And I have a fantastic population here at the heart of the city. As I've been on this pathway, I've taken bits and pieces of my favorite aspects of my favorite teachers, and I've tried to create a mosaic of that, of being accountable with my students, transactional, being real with them, trying to be hilarious. I'm like a high-pitched 5'5" guy, so my only way to get them to like me is, trying to be as funny as possible, but also rigorous, because people respect rigor. Like a gamer respects a hard video game like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. People respect when a class is hard. They want that, Yeah, I went to law school because it was the 2008 financial crisis, and, there was no work. I was a business major from UF, and there was no opportunity. After about 9 months in the public defender's office with interest payments looming for I didn't have that many loans, but I had loans. I lateraled into, I was kind of a bit of a socialite. I had the gift of gab in law school, and I knew a lot of attorneys, and I moved into sales, into headhunting. But it was very parasitic, that feeling of meeting with people for lunches to get them new work, to fit them into roles that maybe weren't the best because they needed headhunters in the first place. It felt very parasitic. And to this day, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies trying to have lunch meetings with people or even wearing suits because of that era. And I came into teaching with open arm, and I really wanted to travel. And I had this dreading feeling of memento mori, you only live once. And so my girlfriend, now wife at the time, she teaches chemistry here at Gables. I teach history. And you better believe it, June 15th, school's out. The next day, we were on a flight to Bangkok, to Japan, to Colombia, to Mexico, to Budapest, to Krakow, wherever. And we would be traveling for 2 months straight. Before we had kids, we traveled every summer for about 8 years, And now with kids, that's a whole other element of why it's awesome to be a teacher, because my daughter goes to daycare at Gables here. The power of place is what got me excited about teaching history, because, I can hark things back. And I'm telling people, read the news, get a daily email from the Associated Press, see what's happening. It is interesting that the Russians are protecting Russian speakers in East Ukraine, and they might get away with it. And what does that mean? What happened after? How did that world look like after? Because sometimes history rhymes. And so I'm always challenging my kids to look at the modern, look at the past. It's easy. Some things are easy with COVID and the Spanish flu, but some things are more nuanced that I'm lucky that I can teach my kids.
Second rule of wizards!
Okay, wizards. I could go on about wizards. Wizards it's something that I created in 2016. We had a computer science teacher that retired, and he was kind of the home of the nerdier, the people that had nerdier proclivities, if you will, that were more into gaming and anime and things like that. He departed. He was kind of a thorn in the side of the administration. And there was a vacuum for a place where people that are into, maybe socially unacceptable things could gather. And so I created Wizards, which stands for the Weekly Interactive Zone for Arts, Recreation, and Design. But it's a great place to be young. It's a free club. It's a big club. I tell them it's the one club to rule them all. It's the only real club. Every other club at this school is like a resume. It's made for the resume to beef up your chances to get into UM or FIU or whatever. This club is just let's just have a good time. Right behind me, they're playing Smash Brothers, and behind the camera, they're playing a game of Risk. In that room, they're playing Pokemon. Today's theme is Pokemon. I got kids that were trading cards a moment ago. I got kids that were playing Pokemon Go a moment ago. That's awesome. Get out of your head, So that's what we do at Wizards. What do I worry about? I'm a high school teacher. I'm worried about mass shootings. I live in a state where they're about to repeal one of the only positive ramifications of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shootout, which was a mass shooting, which was that they at least made it so I think you had to be 21 to get handguns and stuff, and they're repealing that because, this is Freedom, Florida. And so I guess my biggest fear is the mass shootings, the fact that my daughters are going to be in first grade and they're going to sit me down and be like, what is a hard corner and why do I got to do this? And I have to explain to them that bad guys, bad people exist and then these items exist. But it is the shock to me that we're one of the few nations that has this heightened level of gun violence, and that we just sit here and think that we're the only ones. And every time that Onion article comes out after a shooting, that's just nation, you know what I'm talking about? That the nation yet again corrals, thoughts and prayers as as a preventable catastrophe happens again, and then I have to sit with my wife and explain to her why we're going to continue, why we're lucky to have our home blocks away from our work, and how we got this low interest rate, how we can't move, how it's not easy to move to Europe. But she's crying and telling me she doesn't want to be here anymore. We joke about wizards, but like, one of the reasons in my mind I created it is because if anyone is going to be isolated, if you look into the pathology of what tends to be 90% of these time, these dudes that are isolated and alone and want to inflict as much carnage as possible, they're just like bullied and lonely. I created something that can prevent that from happening, hopefully. I just think that we live in a really politically charged time right now, and you know, teachers, we've been demonized recently. Like they treat people. There are forces at work that believe that we are at public schools, that I am like forcing, you know, kids to question their gender, and that I'm teaching this woke ideology. You know, far from it. If you guys take stills from my room, you're going to see that I have as much anti-fascist stuff as I have anti-communist stuff, because the point of any history class is to remind you that you want to be in the middle. We know we're entering this not being paid that much, but we want to do it because it did a lot for us. And when we were 17 and 18 and 19, and we want to channel that, you know? So we're not the enemy. We are just teaching truth as it's always been, you know? And we're easy to demonize here, but we have no power at all. You don't want to have a population that is not getting a great education. It's not going to be a future that you want to live in, you know? So take it easy on the teachers. That's what I'd say.
One of my favorite trinkets is my PlayStation 1 wallet that my boy right here, your fellow filmmaker, he actually got this for me. You know, you're not supposed to accept gifts from students. He gave this to me at the end of the year. And I actually taught him the freshman and senior year. Was it 3 years or freshman, juniors? I taught him 3 years. Okay, 3 years. And I remember when he was a freshman, I had this class. It was like a world history class. It was just an extra class for me. So I take my classes seriously, but it was, you know, we were having a good time. And I remember this. He was just like aware of all this pop culture and film knowledge. And I was shocked. And I was like, how are you this old soul in a 15 or 14-year-old body, you know, which was crazy. And so after torturing him for 3 years, he was very kind and he gave me a dope wallet.